Dick. See Dick steal from the elderly. See Dick run. Run, Dick, run.
Marietta attorney who's been on the run since February has finally been caught.
That's right. Richard Merritt is accused of killing his own mother before running from police earlier this year.
Marshals tell me they later found out he lived at an apartment with a woman unfamiliar with his criminal background. Marshals also learned Merritt frequented a local restaurant. Yesterday, they staked out the restaurant. They say Merritt walked past them and went into a thrift store. Inside the store, they arrested Merritt, ending a nationwide search.
See Dick testify.
In 2018, I was arrested in Cobb County for multiple counts of theft, forgery, and there were some counts also of elder exploitation because I did steal money from some elderly folks. Several months earlier, I had voluntarily surrendered my bar license.
Welcome to Dimwit Criminals. Richard Merritt, who I warmly refer to as Douchebag Dick, is a disbarred attorney and father of 2 children who was recently on trial in Georgia for the brutal unaliving of his own mother. I mean, look at this pic, ladies. Is he a catch or what? Shirley Merritt was 77 years old, and she was the only person left in Dick's life who put up with his BS. So Dick was an attorney. He specialized in, well, I'm just going to let his ex-wife explain it.
He became an attorney quite some time after he graduated. It took him 3 times to pass the bar. Okay. He worked for many firms. He practiced many different kinds of law over the years. He had a lot of different jobs at a lot of different firms doing different things. He had his own private practice prior to losing his license.
Now, Dick's trouble started well before all of this, when he decided he was going to defraud more than $500,000 out of 17 of his elderly clients. It was about 5 years ago when he was charged with 43 counts of fraud. Dick was settling malpractice lawsuits, and then he was pocketing the settlement money for himself without even notifying his clients. So we learned about his history while he was on the stand in his trial, and he went on and on about his picture-perfect family life.
Since I started my practice in 2010, but it was right on the little village square. That was part of why I picked that area, because I saw a need. I wanted to be the local lawyer that people went to first for help. And it was a very successful, actually the first time I got arrested in connection with the Cobb County fraud was in April of 2017. It was shortly after spring break that year. We had just gotten back, and I had 2 of the older ladies who were victims in the main arrest in January of 2018. They had taken out a warrant for one account of theft by conversion, alleging I'd stolen $70,000. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to appear at the funds were extremely tight and limited. I was in the Cobb County Jail. Janine was scrambling to try to make sense of what was going on and take care of the children. So my mother graciously offered to assist with his initial fee payment.
In fact, he kept going on and on so much that the prosecutor and the judge kept having to reel it all in.
And Mr. Queen, this is turning into a lot of narrative. So you need to either ask some specific questions or instruct your client to confine his answers to the questions that are asked.
So when Dick was charged with these offenses, his wife said, I'm not having it.
I served him divorce papers 5 days after he was arrested. And I divorced my ex-husband when I found out about his double life and his crimes and what he had done to all those people and what he had done to us. He didn't pay our mortgage for 6 months, so we lost our home. At the time of his arrest, January of 2018, we lost our electricity because he hadn't paid the bill. I had a van that I used to transport my daughter and her wheelchair, and he pawned the van.
So who comes to the rescue? Mama. Mama, who is the only person that has always been there for Dick, pulling him out of all of his problems, financially apparently criminally. She even takes a second mortgage out on her home and bails his useless butt out of jail. So he pleads guilty to forgery and elderly exploitation in January of 2019. He was sentenced to 30 years with the assumption that he was going to serve 15 of that, right? But the judge gives him 2 weeks to get his affairs in order before he reports to jail. Have these judges not learned from the past? You give these criminals an inch and they're going to take a mile. So, back to his more recent trial. Dick sat on the stand and he described what happened to his mother with zero emotion. According to Dick, on February 1st of 2019, Mom was cooking Dick's favorite meal because it was the last night before he had to go to prison and start serving his sentence for 15 years. Dick says these two random guys knock on his mother's front door. He answers it and he lets them in because they're holding pistols to him. They told him and his mother to get in the basement. Now, how these two mystery men who he'd never seen before and his mother had never seen before somehow knew that they had a basement was very interesting, right? Well, that's just the first crack in Dick's story.
They said, head to the basement and don't say an effing word. She opened the door to the basement, flicked on the light. It was a two-step process to get down those stairs. You had 4 or 5 steps that went down, there's a landing, and then you make the turn, and there's the longer flight of stairs. They proceeded first. My mother was crying. She was making sounds like she might be wanting to scream or shout. He told her to shut the F up and pushed her down the stairs. It was the worst sound I've ever heard in my life. She plunged headlong into the wall. It's a sound I can hear to this day as I'm sitting here. And I could tell that there was a dent or a hole in the wall. She was trying to get up and move around, but from my vantage point, she appeared like she couldn't get her balance. The gentleman who pushed her down the stairs put his pistol behind his back into the back part of his jeans. He ran down the stairs, turned the corner, and came back with the 35-pound weight that has been seen during the course of this trial.
And where did the knife come from?
Well, the knife came later. This monster took this dumbbell and proceeded to bludgeon my mother right in front of me. And she stopped moving at this point. And then the older guy took off up the stairs. He came back a few minutes later with the kitchen knife and proceeded to stab my mother repeatedly in front of me. I cannot believe what I was seeing. I didn't understand what would be the purpose because she wasn't moving. Why is any of this happening? It was a complete and utter nightmare.
Oh, and Dick, during all this, just stood there and watched and didn't do a damn thing.
There's nothing I could do. I had a pistol to my back. I couldn't believe this was happening. I had no clue who these people were or why they were doing this to us. So he stabbed her with such force that the handle broke off the knife. I didn't realize at the time that the knife was still stuck in my poor mother's face.
Now, instead of calling the police, douchebag Dick cuts off his ankle monitor and flees to Nashville in his mother's car. So I know what you're wondering. Why? We all wonder why. Well, here's his explanation.
He put the handle down on the tile across from the dumbbell. He then turned and looked at me, and he pulled out his cell phone. And he proceeded to show me a picture of my ex-wife dropping Mia off at her school, a picture of Jack being dropped off or picked up at Lovett, a picture of them all getting out of her van at their rental home in Marietta, and a picture of her either coming or going from her clinic in Vinings. And he said, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, if you say a single word, they're next. And then they left. No, I did not call the police. These guys had left. I went and got a small backpack out of my room. I put a few clothes. I didn't pack much. Some basic toiletries. And I left. I took my mother's car because it had more gas in it than my car. It had a bigger tank. And I had no idea where I was going or where I was going to end up.
And the funny thing about all that is that Brilliant Dick was caught on surveillance video at the local gas station getting gas before he left town. So Douchebag Dick gets to Nashville. I don't know why he chose Nashville. Apparently he ran out of gas. Who knows? He changes his name to Mick Malvo and gets a job at a bar there. He then starts setting up profiles on online dating sites. I bet he used this picture, ladies. I bet he used it. Y'all know he used that picture. Ooh. So some poor woman actually found it attractive and started speaking with him. Eventually, not long at all actually, she allows him to shack up with her. Because let's face it, Dick didn't have anything. He was probably living out of his dang car. He tells this woman that he was in marketing. However, he's working at a bar, so go figure. He has no kids with his ex-wife, and both of his parents were no longer alive for natural causes. Best part of the story? Right here. U.S. Marshals catch up with Dick 8 months later. And he's caught because somebody broke into his vehicle and the vehicle ends up getting towed. Yep. Same car, still registered under his mom's name. But there's no need to worry, people, because this fool is no longer running loose anymore. He just recently went on trial. It took the jury only 90 minutes to return with a verdict.
As of count 1, malice murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As of count 2, felony murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As of count 3, felony murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As of count 4, aggravated assault, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As of count 5, aggravated assault, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As of count 6, possession of knife during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. This 24th day of May 2023.
Shirley Merritt was an absolutely wonderful person. She was a joy to be around. She was a very giving and loving person. And a great person was murdered by her own son. All this started almost 5 or 6 years ago now, when Richard was first arrested for stealing from clients, mostly elderly clients. And he showed then he had no compunction about doing anything. When it came time for him to go to prison, he couldn't stand the idea of somebody with an ego as big as his being sent to prison. And the court has convicted him of murdering his mother, cutting off his ankle bracelet, running to Nashville, getting on a website and dating a woman and living with her under a complete and utter pretext. His whole life has been a pretext, and I just want the court to know what an evil person he is in the eyes of his family.
Mr. Merritt, as to count 1, malice murder, I do sentence you to life without the possibility of parole. Counts 2 and 3 will be vacated as a matter of law. Counts 4 and 5 will merge with count 1. As to count 6, possession of a knife during the commission of a felony, I do sentence you to 5 years to serve consecutive to the sentence in count 1, for a total sentence of life without parole plus 5 years.
So there you have it. Justice is served, and douchebag Dick will probably end up using his manipulation on fellow inmates to help them with their legal issues. But this time around, it's only going to be for hostess snack cakes at the commissary. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay safe and have a blessed day.